with AI again and with micro-robotics, pills can be ingested and travel around the body to go and tackle a particular area. Sounds very futuristic, but there are companies working on that.
How you're using AI in your daily life.
So that's one area where already AI is saving lives potentially by looking at a mammogram and knowing requires immediate action or not. AI is starting to help, not in the core of the project, but again at the beginning and at the end.
AI, is it hype or help? G'day and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Pete Cooper, and our topic is AI, hype or help. Today's guest is Miguel Adao. Miguel is the President and CEO of Voler Systems, a tech development company operating out of Silicon Valley, and they have been in business for, could you believe, 47 years. So Miguel has some really interesting insights into technology, particularly around consumer electronics and medical devices, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say. So let's get into it. Hey Miguel, thank you. Welcome to our podcast. Really nice to see you again.
Likewise, it's good to see you, Pete.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk a little bit about your background and history and CES, and I think this is going to be really interesting. So Miguel, from Voler Systems, do you want to just introduce yourself, what you do, what your role is over at Voler?
Yeah, very well. My name is Miguel Adao. I'm the President and CEO of a company called Voler Systems. We do electronic design and development for medical device companies, for wearables, for IoT companies. I've been here 4 years. The company has been around for 46. It was founded in 1979 in Sunnyvale, right in the epicenter of Silicon Valley. The founder still talk to him 3 times a day, Walt McClay. You've met him, Pete. And we're delighted that earlier this month of February 2026, we sold the company after 46 years as an independent company to an organization out of Montreal, Canada, called Innovobot.
Nice.
And this is their first acquisition in the US. They invest and acquire in Canada, but I'll be delighted. We're all staying on board, Walt and myself and our teams.
Yeah.
And great energy all around.
So what does Voler Systems do?
Hardware and firmware, primarily. We focus on medical devices, classes 1, 2, 3, in the FDA scale. We do a lot of wearables, both for medical and non-medical purposes, wellness and industrial. Quite a bit of IoT, Internet of Things. A little bit of consumer electronics, but not as much. We won't do mechanical. We won't do industrial design. We have partners for that. But our engineers, we have a deep bench of well-seasoned engineers that can do anything under the sun with sensors, motion control, power management, wireless connectivity, analog digital combinations. And more now, we're starting to look at physical AI, which will be, I'm sure, will come up in this conversation.
So would there be a product out there that we could focus the conversation around it, you could talk about, incorporates all those things? I mean, after all those years, there's probably many products. What's one that I guess the audience might even know of?
Yeah. And it's interesting. I'd have to go back to the NDAs and see a specific product that I'd be able to share, because very often, Pete, it's interesting. We are added to an engineering team as a staff augmentation or as skill subject matter experts. But very often in our NDAs, we're not allowed to communicate. But what I can say in generic terms is cardio and neuro are very interesting spaces for us. We're very unique in that space in terms of managing cardiovascular conditions, managing neurological conditions, Parkinson's or depression or other mental conditions, sleep apnea, spinal surgery. We do a lot in robotic surgery as well. So a lot of really invasive and also not invasive, anything that you can wear on your finger, on your wrist, on your clothes, smart textiles. We do quite a bit even with smart hearables, and we do a lot with I mentioned robotics. Robotics is a space that's really picking up, but mostly these would not be consumer products as such. We're not doing Aura rings. We're not doing Apple watches. We cannot compete with those. We're typically helping either startups or more established companies, mostly in the med tech space, And very often it is the development of a prototype or the device itself. We don't manufacture anything, but we help them in the design, and then they run with that ball.
So would a pacemaker fall under that
Yeah.
category?
Anything that has a battery, that has sensors, that has some sort of uh, PC board or chips, etc. That's the world that we touch. Yeah.
So if anyone doesn't know what a pacemaker is, it's something that's embedded. It's a piece that's embedded around the heart, and then there's usually a piece on the outside, right, which is battery powered, and it communicates between the two of them, and it helps to regulate the pace of the heart, because I think some people have this irregular heartbeats, and that
That's
helps to
right.
regulate that.
Yeah.
All right, I think that might be something that most of us could relate to, but you mentioned FDA classes one, two, and three. I think that's got something to do with whether it's embedded under the skin or whether it's on the surface. Is that right?
That's right. It's basically having to do with the level of risk and the level of seriousness if it goes wrong. And this is something that will come up in our AI conversation as well.
Yeah.
It's okay for AI to hallucinate in in a simple analysis or a Shakespearean
Yeah.
sonnet. It's not okay if it hallucinates when you have a pacemaker inside, or as we work in automotive and green energies and we have devices in the space station. You cannot have hallucinations there, and you have to
Yeah.
be careful. But to your point, yes, class one is something non-invasive. Class two becomes more serious. Class three could be literally life or death if it
Wow.
doesn't go
Oh, okay.
properly.
So
Yeah,
it's also not just the fact that it's embedded under the skin, it's how critical it is to
that's right.
someone's health and life and so on. Okay. Wow, that sounds like a tough challenge, even at a just basic engineering level, because it's like very deterministic. You got to have it exactly right. It's got to be reliable. I mean, is that a challenge for the AI, or is that just completely out of the park, or are you seeing it coming in?
Yeah, so we were joking about it offline when you invited me to your podcast. I'm thrilled to be here, but I'm one of those folks that has been particularly conservative. I'm generally a laggard in terms of technologies. I remember the dot-com, for those viewers who are old enough to remember the dot-com boom and bust, right? There
Mm,
was Peapod and Webvan and Pets.com and Boo.com, all these big companies, and they're all gone, right? And so
mm,
it's very interesting. We'll see the same similar shakeout here now, but we're right in the middle of the storm, and so it's hard to differentiate who will. You're already starting to see some winners. You're starting to see some movement there, but AI in general. Because we work in the physical world of electronics, of devices, of hardware and electronics,
yeah.
it's not there just yet. And so it will take a while, but it's coming. It's coming.
Mm,
We're seeing um, the beginnings, the seeds of something quite exciting slash
yeah.
scary if not managed properly.
So our audience might be familiar with is some of the trials and tribulations that Tesla's been through. Now, there's been a promise from Tesla for many years that we're going to have self-driving cars, and they doubled down on AI vision systems. And then there was some really bad accidents, right, where the vision system just didn't see a
Right,
truck, for example, and the car went
right,
under the truck because it
right.
thought it was blue sky. And it doesn't seem to be that the AI vision systems have really got there yet to the point where they're reliable. And I think the other thing that, I mean, I know we're talking about the auto industry, but I want to see if this relates to the medical side of things, is when someone drives the car, they're responsible, right? And
Right.
if they make a mistake, then, there's fines and accountability. But with AI, who's accountable, right?
That's right. Yeah. And so that's a great example on the automotive side with Tesla and other vehicles and other examples that we've all seen and read about. In the medical space, in the medical device space, that's only amplified, right? Because
Mm,
you have to have the human in the loop. Otherwise, it's just you cannot trust it between, I mean, we read these things about not just hallucinations, but outright lies. AI is actually learning to actually evade the human intervention. So we have to be very cautious because there's
mm,
AI, which is more kind of what we've seen with ChatGPT, kind of responding to prompts. And now
yeah.
there's agentic AI, right?
Mm,
Where it's actually bypassing the human intervention altogether and just proactively leading. What we've seen in our world is that this notion of vibe coding, Pete, where you just kind of create something on the fly, leveraging the AI tools, as sophisticated and as much as it has improved, we cannot use it for medical devices, or indeed for many of our wellness and industrial devices, because what we find is when we get AI initiated schematics and block diagrams and MVPs, minimum viable products, et cetera, we have to start from scratch. Right now, I'm saying this is changing rapidly, but up until now, we have not been able to take something that has some sort of AI intervention, other than very minimal research done, or maybe some work on the product requirements document, the PRD. Some of this more, I don't want to belittle it and call it superficial, but certainly not at the device, at the hardware and firmware. AI cannot write firmware. Firmware is defined as embedded software, software that's inside a pacemaker to make it do things. And so it's going to be a journey for sure. And we cannot afford, the AI does not yet have the, I'm not going to call it intelligence, but the critical thinking and judgment and ability to differentiate risky situations from acceptable situations.
Right. So it sounds like you could use it in your industry for maybe doing some research into what's available, what might be some common approaches to a particular technical problem, helping with some of the I guess the planning side of things, writing requirements. But then at some point you've got to say, well, we've got to actually build this thing. And that means we've got to start from engineering principles the old-fashioned way, right? Where you get someone who knows what they're doing and builds the thing from the ground up, right?
I think that's a good way to put it. The way I think about it now, oversimplistically, is that AI can help at the beginning and it can help at the end. But it cannot right now help, and I'm going to emphasize these words right now because it's changing rapidly. As we speak, things are being launched and improved, and it's the speed of change is overwhelming. But in the middle, today, you need the human. And so certainly at the very beginning, basically the LLMs and the AI tools can help automate and accelerate and identify opportunities early on and minimize that laborious and arduous and time-consuming process. At the end, it can help certainly prepare your documentation for your FDA submission, for instance, compliance and regulatory and all that, because it just follows everything that's been done since the beginning of time. It knows all the submissions to the FDA since the FDA started, and it can help us. It can help the client. It can help us as the partners, collaborators in providing a more accurate submission that perhaps has fewer chances of being rejected or pushed back for whatever reason. But in the middle, the actual construction and building of the cathedral, it needs to be still very much by humans.
I wouldn't have. You said that it could be more accurate. That's interesting, isn't it? I would have thought we were going to go down the path of it's going to be faster, and which means you need less people to create the project documents and the starting pieces, and also to be faster at the end. But you actually brought in an idea I hadn't thought of, which is actually it's more accurate because it can look at many prior submissions, whereas a human can't do that. They can maybe have experience,
right,
but they still could miss things. They're not looking at it actively right there and then. To pull this, if you look at lots of successful ones and you train a model to look at the successful ones, then it's going to follow that path. Just the same way a human would, but it takes so many years and so much time and energy to do that. It's very hard to get a human to read, 20 or 30 submissions and then come and write one.
Right, exactly. And so to be clear, when I speak of accuracy and I speak of the ability to deliver a finished product that's acceptable, say, to the FDA or to whatever organization, right now I'm referring to the written documents. I still do not believe that AI can do the accurate bill of materials, the accurate construction of the PC board, the accurate design of the device or the prototype. But certainly in the product requirements part, the market requirements, or the tail end of that whole cycle as well, they can be very helpful.
Yeah.
And we'll see how this evolves, but it needs some serious guardrails.
Yeah, so I mean, from an engineering perspective, we're talking about that traditional approach, and it's starting to be challenged in some ways that I became aware of recently, where let's take a motorcycle. They wanted to build the tension arm, or the torsion arm, which is holds the rear wheel in place, and they said to this AI generative tool, create lots of different types, right? And then analyze the stress of each of them. And it would go and do hundreds of different types of variants. And this is some weird shapes, beautiful designs that look crazy. It's not just like a torsion bar. It's
Right.
like intricate design.
So interesting.
Analyze that and then do hundreds of them and
Right.
then pick the best ones and then analyze that one and then build it and build it using 3D additive techniques. It's almost taken the human out to the point of building that
Right.
swing arm
Yeah.
for the bike, almost taken them out of that. Is there
Sure.
anything like that happening in your space?
Not because we're primarily medical devices and very sophisticated and highly regulated,
Yeah.
non-medical spaces, um, oil and gas, automotive, aviation, aerospace, green tech, ag tech, agricultural technologies.
Mm,
Certainly, I can see for a part in a bike or perhaps a non uh, dangerous, non-lethal component in some sort of equipment
mm,
or machinery, it probably makes a lot of sense with also
mm,
the advance in robotics and 3D printing and all that.
mm,
In our world, honestly, it's we're starting to get exposure to it. And don't get me wrong, on the marketing side, on the business development side, we
mm,
are AI first right now
mm-hmm,
in identifying lookalikes for our lead generation and creating some AI generated or AI supported content. Still needs to look human. Can't
mm.
be AI slop.
No.
We see that in the
Yes.
commercials during the Super Bowl, right? So you got to be careful. You don't go too far because people are also there's a backlash. It's very interesting. Not just with my kids' generation. I have two kids in high school who are completely AI already, even though they
Mm,
use some of it for schoolwork.
mm,
It's very interesting. They will not. I'll show them a cute little cat video, and they'll just tell me that's not interesting. That's not real. It's not genuine. And by the way, Dad, they're taking away work and business from creatives and videographers and musicians. So it's a very interesting. That will be a different podcast. But this
yeah.
generation, it has a much um, um, more mature attitude about this than perhaps even we do. But
Mm-hmm.
certainly on the marketing and business side, we're finding it very useful. On the actual hardware, firmware, electronics, development, and design, it needs to be still very much human-led at the core of the project. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of refreshing to hear that because I think what's happened in the last few years with unless you've been under a rock, you're using the LLMs, ChatGPT, of course, and Claude and Gemini, those tools. Everyone's familiar with. It's the generative side, and there's this element. That's what AI is. But of course, AI has been around for a long time, but in a different way, and that is more on the deterministic side of things, which is sort of where my background was in the AI vision systems, where you want to resolve what the camera sees and it generates classes, right? So it's deterministic. It's saying, okay, I can see lots of things, and those are the things that I can see in those locations. That's to me, there's two worlds of AI. Generative, making new stuff, creating new stuff, having conversations and chatbots and things. So where there has to be a creation part, but then there's the deterministic where you're kind of resolving down to something. I think that's where we might see some of AI coming into your world, right? Where, for
For
example, if the
sure.
heart rate is so erratic,
Yeah.
um, it could analyze that with AI and suggest a remedy.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. You're words just now just prompted some thoughts. It's interesting because Steven Spielberg did a movie called AI back in the 80s. I mean, this notion has been around forever, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we've had all the dystopian movies starting with Kubrick back in the what was it, late 60s, I believe, 2001 Space Odyssey, an amazing visionary movie. But it's very interesting. I mean, you and I remember IBM Watson, right? That was like one of the big, finally, corporate pushes into the precursor of AI. So it's been around for decades and
Mm,
decades.
mm,
And it has been something that, since I am based, well, I actually live in San Diego, but our organization is based in Silicon Valley. I'm up there every other week. And I see the energy that's happening both in the fundraising side, certainly, but also in the actual corporate and innovative side with all these startups and scale-ups popping up here. And the future of AI will actually be a really interesting mix of the Googles and SpaceX's or XAI, however it's called now, of the world, but
mhm.
also these up and coming organizations, many of which have not even started. And um, I find the moment to be, we're at a crossroads. We are um, at a moment where, yes, I'm finally starting to see the potential for AI, and you talk about deterministic versus reactive. The AI that we've all kind of grown accustomed to in the last 4 years was more write a prompt and it will come back with something. But
Mm,
now we will start seeing indeed AI taking that deterministic or that agentic or that proactive approach. It'll take still a little bit longer
mm.
to materialize itself in the physical space and uh, let me say, in the high risk, uh, life or death, um, regulated and hyper sophisticated space. And medical devices, one space, there are many others, but that's the one I touched directly. Um, yeah, we'll see where we go from here. I'm ambivalent still about, I'm optimistic. I do
Mm.
believe that many cancers, for instance, will be resolved and go away in the next decade, maybe even sooner. I do believe that. We're seeing that's one concrete area where I see value right now, Pete, is
Mm,
in
mm,
AI is able to look at a X-ray, at an MRI, at a some sort of imaging report and determine if a cell is cancerous or benign better than humans, better than radiologists and surgeons with 30 years of experience. That's astounding to me. We're seeing
yeah.
those facts. So that's one area where already AI is saving lives potentially by looking at a mammogram and knowing this is requires immediate action or not. And
Mm,
so
mm.
we have these budding shoots of excellence coming out, but it's still very much a mixed scorecard.
It is, and I think that's a good example of the imaging. I think what you still have your radiologist, you still have your
Mm.
GP, you still have your specialist.
Right.
Obviously, you still have the patient. So there's still the need for this core of humans that are going to be needed. But now maybe we just amplify the capability through AI. And I think this is, to me, this is the revolution that's coming. It's how people ultimately, because companies like yours and mine are organizations of people. That's what a company is. We're still people, and but how can we use AI? And I think it's like in that instance, it's kind of like the really good example of a tool, right? You take the existing organization of those five people, the radiologist, and they add that AI tool in to supplement their work, and it can even help them be better at their job because the AI sees things they don't, and then they learn from it. And I'm really a big fan of that. I think that the amplification of our capabilities through AI, I think, is the next big step. I think it's the transformation that every business is going to witness and hopefully embrace for their betterment.
I agree. I do. It's interesting. You mentioned CES at the beginning of the chat, and I was at CES this year. I believe you were there as
I
well,
didn't go
right?
this year. No, we
Oh,
wanted to talk
you didn't.
about what you saw there, actually.
Well, what I saw was AI everywhere. AI everywhere. And I saw it already a little bit last year. CES is the big, it used to be called Consumer Electronics Show. It's now consumer and industrial and medical. And it's all things electronics. And it's a zoo. It's 130,000 people descend in Las Vegas, and
Mm-hmm.
the convention center and the Venetian Expo are wall to wall.
Mm.
AI everywhere. It's now become as ubiquitous. It's like us saying now here, Pete, my company has a website. Of course it does. My laptop has an on-off button. It's par for the course. It's a given.
Mm.
Everything. What I saw this year was interesting. I attended the keynote. I believe it was at the Sphere. I attended different events at the Sphere. Was this one at the Sphere with Dell, the SVP of Dell Computers, my former competitor? I worked for Hewlett Packard for 12 years. He did not mention AI, or in fact, what he did say was, if I recall, we've learned that people actually don't want too much AI in their laptop. So we're scaling back.
Yes.
You know, they're
Yeah.
accustomed to a certain out of box experience or a certain kind of user interface UI experience, and they've actually scaled back a little bit. Going back to my point about my children kind of overreacting, or not overreacting, but um, 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 backing away a little bit from the AI onslaught.
Mm.
So it's very interesting. Both, you mentioned people. It's all starts and ends with humans. We're this is not two AI robot overlords having a podcast. It might be interesting for a while,
That's
but
right. And
I,
who would care? Who
they
would
can't.
care?
They don't sweat. I'm sweating a little bit because I'm
That's
just like in the
right.
moment, right?
Yeah,
You can
me
tell that
too.
we're connecting on a visceral level, and that cannot be replicated. So it's very interesting what's happening, and we just need to navigate this brave new world
Mm,
with caution, with a healthy dose of trepidation, but also with excitement. Because if we
mm,
can save lives, if we can save the planet, not if, but as we save lives, make
mm,
lives healthier, people healthier, and live longer,
mm-hmm.
and help the planet, and help uh, equality around the world. I know it sounds like a little kumbaya, but I see the power of AI, and I certainly
Mm,
see it in
mm,
my world as well, of medical devices already. And there are several other projects I can even talk about under NDA as well. But we're talking about Parkinson's and stroke, and perhaps managing brain cancers in a way that half of the brain does not need to be excised
mm.
to and unfortunately remove healthy cells and healthy parts of the body to get to some. So AI is starting to help, not in the core of the project, but again at the beginning and
Mm-hmm.
at the end. That's how I
So,
the
was there anything that
bookends.
blew your mind at CES?
Uh, I joke with somebody that CES is perfect for tech bros. a lot of a lot of
Yeah. Mm,
uh, uh, interesting drone technology and automotive technology. A lot of smart home stuff. I don't
mm-hmm.
think we're going to have a robot at home doing our laundry or ironing our clothes just
Mm-hmm.
yet. But I am certainly very excited about the nanotechnologies that are coming,
Oh.
where uh,
Mm, mm,
with AI again and with micro-robotics, pills can be ingested and travel around the body to go and tackle a particular area. That is sounds very futuristic, but
mm,
there are companies working on that.
mm,
On the wearable side as well, of course, we
mm-hmm.
wear our rings to measure the quality of our sleep and to measure our blood rate and oxygen, but there'll be wearables that can actually predict you're going to have a medical episode, or we have to be careful as well because you don't want to be told by a wearable that you might have propensity for something. You want to really have that conversation with your doctor. But
Mm,
there's a lot of medical advents and right just around the corner
mm.
that again will really make a difference in our lives and
Yeah.
our
Well,
health.
we're going to sort of start summing up, but before we do that, I'd like to know sort of how you're using AI in your daily life. I mean, are you using it for work? Are you using it at home? Um,
I've resisted it for the longest time. Like I said, I'm
mhm,
very much a laggard. I used to be leading edge, Pete, to the point where I became bleeding edge.
Hmm.
And there's a fine line with that. And I've kind of learned my lessons, whether it's new technologies or uh, buying a new shiny object, or I even have ambivalent opinions about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. We can have another podcast on that.
Mm,
But and
mm.
so in my personal life, very rarely, other than to write a beautiful poem for my wife or something like that at Christmas time.
Nice. Yeah.
My kids are using it to help with their homework. My wife certainly uses it for her job, and I see her becoming a big advocate of Claude. Used to
Hmm.
be a chat
Hmm.
GPT. She writes books, and it helps with the editing of the books
Mm.
and the selection of titles and covers and so forth. So we're starting to see it in my family. Ironically, I'm
Mm.
the engineer. I'm the head of the kind of technology and innovation company here, but I'm following the lead of my
Well, it kind
family.
of makes sense. I think
Yeah,
in a way you there's an almost an expectation that you do resist it because you have to stand you just have to stand behind something which is has to be medically safe, and you
yeah,
have to make sure it's proven. And in a way, I can understand your position very much so. I mean, it's not like you're an advertising, heading up an advertising company where, if you're not using AI, you're not in the game.
right.
You,
You have to do
you
it.
have to play a different game. You have to be much more conservative. I mean, I use the airline industry when I think about safety because I worked in that industry for a while. Nobody wants to get on an airplane where anybody has taken any risks, right? Not the pilots, the captain, the crew, nobody. Everybody wants to be 100% sure that
Right,
every safety precaution is made,
right.
and let's not throw AI in to see if the engines will work better with AI or have an AI pilot up the front. God's sake,
That's right.
No.
That's actually a great analogy. Yeah, I think of designing and developing medical devices much like the airplane experience you mentioned. You can certainly use AI to find the best flight for the best day at the best cost. You can certainly use AI to then select your favorite movie for your long flight from
Hmm.
the console. You can certainly use AI to track your luggage and to go through customs when you land at your destination. But in the flight with the pilots and the cockpits and the engines, you don't want to mess with that.
No.
AI is probably, I'm sure, not probably, I'm sure it's working. Airbus and Boeing are using AI to make planes safer and faster and more environmentally friendly and to
Hmm.
use less fuel. I'm
Hmm.
sure that's all happening for future Dreamliners and for future
Yeah.
aircraft. But in the moment, in the air, you do not want to tinker
Hmm.
and find out that AI needs to reboot or AI started hallucinating and decided
Yeah,
that
that's
mountain is
right.
not
We
really a
thought the
mountain.
runway was there, but it was a cloud, or vice
Yes,
versa.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Miguel. This has been great. So, final question for you. AI, is it hype or help?
Yeah, I think my sentiment throughout this half hour with you has been pretty consistent. I believe it's been hype until now,
Hmm.
other than some corner cases in other industries, et cetera. In my space, medical devices primarily, heavy, sophisticated industrial spaces, mostly hype.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
I can see it, not yet, but I can see it quite soon becoming a help. And already it's helping on the edges at the very beginning of the process, at the very end of the process, on the edges of an initiative. I still believe we need those engineers with 35 years of experience to build that device and those boards and those schematics. But mostly hype until now.
Mm.
It'll start becoming helpful. But on the other hand, if governments and the folks in charge in the private and public sector are not
Mm.
cautious, the help could backfire, and we could end up in a quite a problematic scenario in the future. So
Yeah,
we need to be careful as a society.
I think so too. Well, on
Yeah.
that note, thank you, Miguel. Thank you very much for coming and chatting with us, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. Thank you so
All
much,
right then.
Pete.
Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye.
Well, that was a very interesting discussion we had with Miguel, where we dug into an area that I think most of us probably wouldn't be aware of, and how deep it really goes in terms of engineering. So, is AI relevant in that world, in the world of medical devices? Well, actually, there is, but it's not where you might think. The core, the engineering core, is still very much people with experience building products and building them with engineering methodologies that have been around for a long time. But at the front end of projects where they're working out what to build and how to build and build up the start of the project, and at the end of the project where they're creating the submissions to the FDA regulators, then those two areas, it seems that AI is becoming helpful. Well, if you want to know more about Voler Systems, follow the links in the description. If you want to know more about skilling, please also do the same. I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.